Expanding. Now we're going to expand these expressions here. So look what I do and follow very carefully to see if you can see a particular pattern on how to do this. Now we've got 5 outside of x plus 2. Because there is no operation between the 5 and the bracket, you know that operation means times. Now the objective here when we expand is to remove the bracket. So I'm going to go 5 times x, 5x, and then 5 times 2 gives plus 10. The next one means times, so x times x gives x squared. X times negative 4 gives negative 4x. Here, this is negative. That's times. So this actually means negative 1 outside the bracket there. It actually means negative 1. So negative 1 times x gives negative x. Negative 1 times plus 3 gives negative 3. Now you can see when we have a term outside a set of brackets, to remove the brackets is called expanding. And to do this, we simply multiply the term that's outside the bracket by each term inside the bracket. So as you can see here, the first example, it was 5 times x gives 5x, and then 5 times 2 gives 10. Here was x times x gives x squared, x times minus 4 gives minus 4x. And here was minus 1 times x gives minus x, and minus 1 times plus 3 gives minus 3. Now you would have noticed here we had a negative outside the bracket, and inside the bracket was positive x and positive 3. So when there's a negative outside the bracket, it changes the sign of all the terms inside the bracket. So this term went from positive to negative, and this went from positive to negative. So the rule is this. To remove single brackets, multiply the term outside the bracket by each term inside the bracket. This process is called expanding. A negative in front of a term outside the bracket changes the sign of every term inside the bracket. So let's do these examples. So we want to expand each of these. Now remember, expanding means removing the bracket. So here we have 3 outside of 4x plus 5. So 3 times 4x gives 12x. 3 times 5 gives 15. Number B, x times 1 gives x. X times minus 2x gives minus 2x. X times x, you know, gives x squared. So it's minus 2x squared. Now here we have 2x times x plus 7. So again, I take the term outside the bracket and multiply it by both terms inside the bracket. So I go 2x times x gives 2x squared. 2x times 7 gives 2 times 7 is 14. And then we have the x there, 14x. Now number D, we have 8x minus 3 outside of 4. Now I can rewrite this as 4 outside of 8x minus 3. It means exactly the same thing. I mean, you don't have to rewrite it like this, but it means exactly the same thing. So I just go 4 times 8x gives 4 times 8 is 32. X. Now 4 times minus 3 gives minus 12. Number E, now we have negative 3 outside of 6 minus 5x. Now you know that means times, of course. So we go minus 3 times 6 is minus 18. Now we have minus 3 times minus 5x. Now negative times a negative, you know, always gives a positive. 3 times 5, we get 15x. Now you'll notice there, this negative outside the bracket changed the sign of every term inside the bracket here. So this 6 there was positive, it became negative there. And this here, this 5 was negative, and of course the result there was positive. Here we have minus 4x outside of x minus 1 to minus 4x times x. Get minus 4, and of course x times x gives x squared. Now we have minus 4x times minus 1. Now negative times a negative, you know, gives a positive. 4 times 1 is 4, and we have the x there, so plus 4x. Number G, minus 6x outside of 2 plus 3x. So negative 6 times 2 gives minus 12, and we have an x there, so it's minus 12x. Negative 6 times plus 3 gives negative 18, and we do the x variable, so x times x gives x squared. Number H, I've got minus 5x outside of minus 2x plus 1. So I've got minus 5x times minus 2x. Negative times a negative gives a positive, so 5 times 2 we get 10. X times x, x squared. Now I go minus 5x times 1 will just give minus 5x.